In your reserves, grab all your small pieces that have the wood on the back side. So for this, with it being like this, this will cover, we're going to have to cut another piece for that, so because I don't think that's quite going to be long enough for us. Well, maybe. Yeah, I think you should have two brown one or two wood ones that are longer. Let's set those off to the side for the top ledge. This is the piece that I have on the back. It's this. Right now, and I think this might work for us, it's 1.5 inches this way, and we are 3 inches this way. So measure over 1.5 inches and cut. So you should have two pieces from that cut that are each 1.5 inches. Okay. So this should fit here. Let's see if this will roll around. I think it might. Yeah. Okay, so here's the back, right? Let's just place glue. Here's the back, here's the top. That's going to be exposed. We'll get right there on the little side. We're going to start here and place this all the way to the back, the top, so it's flush, does not go over. Again, my seams are right here. Make sure that gets on straight. Okay. We're going to add our glue here, getting in the seam and on this little seam. And we're going to press it until it is flat and flush. Hold that. And then this last little bit, which is the underside, we can just kind of put some glue there and wrap it to the back. Where's my little tool? I seem to have lost my scoring tool. Probably right in front of my face. I'll have to find it. I just rearranged my craft room, so I misplaced some stuff. Okay, so the ends are going to stay black. So we have the back, we have the top, the front, and the bottom. So that's our middle. We're going to do the same thing with this. So locate your seam, which my seam's right here, so this would be the top that would be exposed. Make sure you get right there on the edge. And I will place this, making sure it doesn't poke over the back part. Make sure it's pretty flush there. And get the back here. There it is. Okay, so here are our two for our middle ledge. And here is our bottom ledges here. Locate, let's see, we're going to have to do this, and I think that that might work for us. Let's see, about 1 inch. We are just shy of 1 inch. Let's see how that would look. I think I want to, that's 1 inch. Okay, you'll have actually two of these that are 1 inch wide by about 2 inches long. So, and they're both identical. So we're 2 inches long, 1 inch this way. Measure over 1.5 inches and cut. Okay, so I have my pieces. They are 1.5 inch by 1 inch wide. Trying to get this so the camera doesn't shake. Let's locate our back where our seams are. So this is the top. And I'm going to place my glue. And we're going to wrap around like we did before. Okay, those are done. These pieces here that are shorter, we can put those back in your reserves. And remember, if you want to cut little squares to cover the sides, you can definitely do that too. We might do that. I'll just stick those off. Okay, the top ledge. What we are going to need on both of these pieces, Right now these are about, approximately 5/8 inch. This is 4 inches long. This one is about 3/4 by 5.5. And we need 3.5. So let's start with it like this. I think this will work fine for us. So on both of these, measure over 3.5 inches and cut. So on the one that's widest, this one I believe was 3/4 wide, we're going to use it. So let's locate our seams are back here. So here's the top. We're going to lay this down so it's nice and flush with the back edge, and we're just going to pinch it until that rolls around onto the front. So let's start there. And I'm actually just going to add glue to this whole piece. Place it evenly side to side, and I'm going to roll that over. You might need a little more glue up there, but I think that'll work. This one we're going to lay on top of it, and any excess is going to wrap over. So there's only a little bit. So for me, I might stick this on my scoring board to help me out a little. So I'm going to place glue on this. So we'll place that there. So you won't really be able to tell. And again, you can use ink to help you along. And then we'll wrap that over. If you can't wrap it over, like I'm having a hard time wrapping it over because it's such a small thing, you can use your nail to help you out, or that scoring board will be good. And I probably will be doing some inking up here. Okay, actually, let's not waste those. Okay, you should have this piece in your reserves. It's the door, looks like this. Looking at it like this, I'd like you to measure over 1/2 inch and cut. This is what you should have. Now let's cut this down, measure over 3.5 inches and cut. I have mine. So all I'm going to do is add the glue to this side because our wood's on that side. Making sure I get those edges pretty good. And we're just going to lop that right on over this piece. My white up, and I'm going to go along that edge too, just to make sure that those are creasing down. Okay, so top, front, bottom. It's time to get those on our book. Let's grab the front of our book. Here is the front. We're going to just open it up. Okay, remember, black goes like that. So let's add this. And it goes flush with the top, and I'm going to hold mine up because I can't see over. And the sides. And I think mine looks good right there. Just make sure it's down. That looks pretty even. So I am going to ink along that edge. And I'll ink around my other one so it blends in nice. Yep. Okay, same thing. Middle goes to this and it will fit. Press and hold those down so they make contact there. Now for the small ones. And they just go on the other ledge there. I'm going to start over here. Make sure I get that lined up right. Okay, now for this one, you may want to open up your book there and place it, making sure you do not go over onto that area. So you'll slightly overlap in. Looks like I have those down. So right now this is what ours looks like, and it looks pretty good. All right, our next pieces we need. So here is our two pieces, the door back, which is 1 7/8 by 3 3/8, and a 2.5 by 3 3/8, the door with hinge. We're going to set those aside. We are going to need to get our decorative paper first for this. So in your reserves, pull this back out. It is the door with the knocker piece, and it is wood on the back. So you're going to want your pencil for this. And the door with the hinge, your hinge is going to be off to the left. Let's just push that back behind, so all we're looking at is this piece. Here is our door knocker. What I want you to do is pull this all the way to the top of your piece. Now, if you center that between your door, what you're going to see is a line here and a line here. All you're trying to do is, if you pull it down, get those two door panels centered between that. So we're just going to, from there, pull it straight up till it's at the top and straight down the sides. We're going to use our pencil, and we are going to outline this, and then when we cut this out, we're going to cut it out just to the inside. And mine is very hard to see, and I'm going to use my paper cutter to cut this really quick. After you cut that out, verify you are going to fit. So again, the flap is back behind. We're just looking at this, and it should be a good fit top and bottom. So we want to get a shape for this, and the best thing I could say to get a shape is grab your score tape and place it just to the top. Let me bring it up to the top of your paper here, and you'll be able to see, because I'm trying to go for like a shape, and you'll see that you have this there. So just make sure those sides are even, and then once you have it there, you can draw. And I gotta be careful because I don't want to get my head in the video, and you can always fix it too. So I'm gonna draw, and then what I'm going to do is cut, and when I cut, I'm going to try and cut just to the inside of that, just right along there. So let's take a look how that would look, just giving a little bit of a shape, bringing that down. So that looks pretty good for me. You don't have to be completely perfect, but when I cut off this here, it's going to be a nice little, just a little shape to the door is all. And I'll leave a little bit of black. And I'll just come over here and then straight out. So my door will be slightly curved at the top. Now you can give yourself more of a curve if you'd like, and I might even do that. Kind of like more of a curve. So I'm going to look for something, or just hand draw this. See if I come out the same by using this. I'll show you what I do sometimes. Okay, so that little piece over here, I'm going to flip it over to the other side, and I'll line it up over here, and hopefully it will give me almost the same there. So that's what I'm going for. So I do like slightly curved a little bit more, and I think that'll be okay for me with the door curve like that. I like that. That's just a taste. If you don't want to do that, you don't have to. Just adds a little character and a little more shape rather than all square. Okay, so now your decorative paper is now, this decorative paper is now your template. And I think that'll look good for me. I like it like that. I can put something right there. Okay, so here's the back of the door. You can place this down now on that, and make sure this is going to be slightly wider than the black, but you'll want to try to get the same door shape for the back part. So what's going to end up happening, and I'm going to show you, here's our front. This is the door back. A magnet's going to go back behind it. Okay, this little hinge, we're going to slide it right back behind that. So if you need to make an adjustment there, you can. There'll be a magnet placed there. The door goes right here for a shape. And when we open it, you'll have this, and you'll be able to do whatever you like, a little picture, or write in there what you'd like for a thing. So right now what we can do is, for this, I think we're just going to use some glue. So here's the outside, here's the hinge here. We're actually going to add a little glue right like that. And we're going to make sure that these are straight. Close it up. So it hooked back behind is what it did. Okay, we need to get one more piece here to go on the inside of the back. And I think we're going to need to cut a new piece. And we have this in our reserves here. So grab this out of your reserves. We'll turn it upside down to where the doors are over here. So measure over 1 7/8 inch, and we're going to cut. Now let's grab our piece like this, and you'll see that there's some little screws over on this side of the paper. Measure over 3 3/8 inch and cut. Alright, so I'm going to have the yellow side up so that on the inside will be the wood. I'm just going to use this as my template. Make sure they're even, and I'm going to draw, and I will cut this out. Oops, got a little crazy there. Alright, let's get the front of our piece on now. For that, let's get our front of our door on there. And the opening is over here, and we're just going to glue this down. Okay, it's time to get into our magnets. Let's get 2 of our magnets out, a plus and a minus. Alright, I have a plus and a minus. And I found my extra tools here. They were hiding from me. And I'm just going to grab one here. And I'm going to open up the door and place it in. Then I'm going to move away from the edge a bit there. Let's apply glue to this. And we'll place it on the inside. Down. Okay, we'll close it. This one is going to place there. So all we have to do once you close it, here's the front. We open it, nothing there, close it, let your mate find the other. And we'll just place some glue. And you really don't need that much glue. A little heavy-handed there. Alright, for this next step, we're really going to want to open up our book and lay it out flat. Now when you place this, okay, when you place this, you'll want to be down, but you don't want it so far down that you can't open your door. So I'm going to remove the backing and just place this dead center in between those posts there. Get some glue. And place it. Now once you have it down, you'll want to kind of open it up as best you can. Make sure that you can open it. Mine kind of, when I open it like that, stops there, and that's perfectly fine. But at least I can get this door open. Now a good thing to place in here is dates. Like this book for me is a everyday type album of life stories. So dates in here would be great for me. Okay, once that's down, you can close it. Let's grab one of our strips. You see life stories there? We're going to cut that fussy cut out, I think, around that, and life stories is going to go right there. So I'm going to do the best I can. I'm not real good at the fussy cutting, but it will be okay. Most time people don't even notice that sort of stuff. I kind of like that theme, life stories, because anything can go in this. You can even use this to place anniversary or wedding or whatever you'd like. It's just special occasions. Let's see how that would look. I think that would look really good there. But for me, I am going to be, and I do this quite a bit, backing it to black cardstock. So I'm going to glue this down to a scrap piece of black cardstock that it fits on. And then I'm going to cut back out and around it, leaving a little bit of a black border. That way it stands out. That's just how I like to do it. You can do it any way you like. Okay, so I'm going to cut out and around, trying to leave a little sliver of black to outline it. And I'll show you mine in just a moment. So here is mine, and you saw what it looked like without backing it. But to me, that just makes it pop out so much more when you back things to the black cardstock. So we'll just add some glue there, and we'll stick it down in the middle there. And I think that looks good. So right now this looks like this, and I think what I would like to do before we do some decorating and all that is I'm anxious to get the spine on the envelope, the pocket side, and as well as the back. Now the reason why I had extended out and did that to the spine and the back is, if you notice, when you open this up, your book is going to stop and it's going to be up. Okay. When I built out that spine to put that pocket on, it will alleviate that, so your book, the back will have the pocket, the spine will have a pocket, and that will make sure that your album will lay flat when opening. Because if you don't, you're going to be popped up like that from the awning. So that is my madness behind why we build out. So I'm going to set this off to the side, and let's grab our spine pocket, and let's grab our spine pocket flap. Let's make some cuts on our chipboard spine pocket. And okay, the first thing that I would like us to do is, you see that your first score lines here, and there's top one here. We're going to cut on those. And cut up and over to release that. Okay. Next, we're going to do the same thing over here and over to release that. These guys here, let's just chop them off. We don't need them. We'll just do away with them. Alright, so now here's the front. So you want to work these to where this is the depth. This is looking at it at the side. This is the back. So if you pull in your sides, okay, this is the top. Don't worry, we're going to get a we're going to work with that. This is going to come back and over and hold it so nothing falls out your pocket. And this is part is the total back. Okay, so at least we got that taken care of. We need to get, before we can do anything here, we need to find our decorative paper for this. And I'll show you why in a minute. In your paper pack, you will find this beautiful print. And on the back, we have the marble looking. Let's take off that trim piece. So we're looking at our paper like this. What we're going to do is measure over 3 5/8 inch and cut. This is what you should have. Let's turn it like this. Measure over 7 1/2 inches and cut. We're going to be using our scoring board to help us with this. This piece is going to be wrapping completely around the sides here. But we have some oddball, so we're going to line up. If you're using my ruler, line up your 0 with the side of your paper. Whoops. And what we're going to do is grab our pencil. At 9/16 of an inch, make your pencil mark there. At 3 1/16, we're going to make a pencil mark. Let's grab our scoring board. And we're just going to lightly score. So I'm going to line up that pencil mark I made. And I'm going to lightly score there. And then I had another one right here. Move that out of the way. And we can adjust this if we wanted. We're just going to lightly pull these over. Now here is the spine pocket. What I'd like you to do is just wrap that to where you have sides. This is in the back. Don't worry about that. But this should fit nicely now over this. Don't glue it down. Let's just stick that off to the side. Grab this back out of your reserves. We're going to turn it so we're looking at it like this. Measure over 2 9/16 inch and cut. So this is what you should have. Turn it so you're looking at it like this. Your little hinge is here. Measure over 5 5/16 inch and cut. Alrighty, let's grab our ruler, and the little hinge part is up at the top. Place your ruler down, and we are going to make a center mark. Now we're slightly past the 2 1/2 mark, so we're just going to shimmy that until we look about even there. And at 1 1/4 inches at the bottom, I want you to make a pencil mark. Next, what we're going to do is place our ruler down along the side, and we will measure up from the bottom 1 1/8 inch. Make a pencil mark on the side there. We'll do the same over here. Now with those marks that we made, we can just use our ruler to go from the side to the bottom. Hopefully that'll be straight. It's straight enough for me. It looks good. So now I'm just going to cut. If it's slightly off, that's okay. But one way you can do to make sure you are even is once you've cut one side, oops. Once you've cut one side, you can just flip that over to the other side and line it up. Looks like I was pretty even, and use that for your little template there. So that is what you should have, and it should look good. Now we need to do one more of these. Grab this back out of your reserves. measure over 2 9/16 inch and cut. So this is what you should have. All we're going to do here is, so you have the little doily part and the tip. I'm going to turn this over. The tip is down. Let's just match that up. And whoops, we'll draw what needs to be done. And so I'm going to cut this. And the rest of that we will definitely put in our reserves. All right, let's grab all these little pieces. We'll put them all in our reserves. Let's start with this one. So here is our flap. I want you to push everything back behind it. So all we're looking at is what we need to see. And you should have a little black border on the side, just a sliver. And we'll pull that to the top there. Make sure that you're even side to side. And what I like to do is sometimes I like to leave a little bit of a black border. So for me, I'm going to lightly draw and then I'm going to cut just to the outside of this, and then I can erase. So I'll show you. So you can see my line, I think, and I cut just to the other side. And then I'm going to check to see how that looks. Erase my pencil mark there. Push that all back behind. Place this down. And that'll give me just a little bit of a black. All right, so this piece can actually be glued down. And I'm going to push that all back behind so I get this on right. Okay, now before I do this one, what I need to do now is to flip this over, and we're going to need another magnet. And when you place this, you'll want to bring it up from the tip, probably about 3/4 of an inch or so, and just place that in the middle. This one's going to come over the top, just like that. That might seep out. So this one's a little bit harder, this album, because of all the components and for me to teach, because I only made one, and a lot of you already saw it. It was in my Christmas album I did the share on. So, and when I was making that, I was making notes. So this is only the second time I've made this, so I apologize if it seems a little slow. I do remember when I was making that one that there were certain steps that I wanted to do that first before we actually started gluing things together. It would make our life much easier, because what had happened is on this one, we have that. We're going to be cutting this out. But what I ended up doing was, as you can see, I'm not real straight down here, is I assembled it first, then had to try and cut. So that's what I'm trying to avoid with this. Oh, the dogs are totally going crazy playing right now. Okay, so here's the bottom. Don't worry about that. What I want you to do is just pull this in, and you can bring this over to where it is straight on the sides if you want. The most important thing is this part up here at the top, and we're not gluing it, we're just placing it. So make sure that this is straight on the side here, not going over, and it is straight. So if you have to pull out your side a little bit over here, do so. And it'll be a nice snug fit there. So this is what you're going to end up having, okay, like that. We're going to hold it together. Let's grab our mate. We'll place that there. And we're going to find where this other magnet needs to place. So again, you're going to want to be accurate. Don't let it fall yet. Placing, here's the top. The bottom is the one with the flap. We're going to come over, make sure we line up with the side of that chipboard. And I'm keeping my hand under here so it does not fall yet until I'm ready for it to fall. Line it up over here so it's straight on the top, and then I can let it fall. So then I can press. Okay, now that is where we know that that magnet needs to place. So this is the part where I messed up when I was making my own, is that I actually assembled, I glued this all together like I was saying. Then I found that this is too high, you can't get into your pocket. We need to place a dip in here, and I had to hand cut down and around once it was assembled. And that's why I said we need to get some of our pieces done first, if that makes any sense. So now that we know where the placement of that is, we will be having to cut, but we're going to do the cutting on this one first, and then once we do that, it'll be easy for us to get our thing. So here is our sides. All right, what we want to do is place it down and make a pencil mark, move in, measure in 1/4 of an inch and make a pencil mark. Over here, you're going to do the same, 1/4 of an inch. So 1/4 right here. And I'm going to move down here and do it again so I can draw my line to get it straight. This is just going to help us. Okay, and we can erase our pencil marks. So now I'm lining up this line with that one, so I am 1/4 inch all the way down. And I'm going to lightly just go down, about almost down. And I'm going to do that over on this side. Find my other pencil mark, make sure I'm lined up, and draw. And again, I'll erase that. So what we see here is where we're going to need to leave some of our cardstock, and we're going to do a dip. Okay, if you were to pull in the side again and just lay this out, line this up with the bottom. Forget about these, but the bottom of this, because those will tuck back behind. Here is your magnet, so I want you to come up from that magnet. Measure up about 1 inch. Okay. So I got my pencil mark there. Now I can see exactly where that is. So about 3.5 inches down. And I'm going to do it over here, 3.5 inches. This may seem really tedious, but it's going to help us. Now from those two lines, we'll line them up and we will draw in between. All right, so this is as far as we can cut down. Now we can go with a square or we can go with a curve. I'm going to do the easiest way, and that is just cut this out. So I'm going to open these back up. I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to cut on that inside. Okay, and then across. And I'm going to, for now, put this in my reserves. And any pencil marks you can erase. So what's going to happen is when this all comes together, that flips over, that looks good. So place it on there so that your sides wrap over. Have it sitting up in front of you. Make sure that you are lined up. You can pull your back little flap out of the way too. Just kind of get that in there. Bring your paper down to the bottom. So you should be something like this, lined up even up there. Okay, hold it together as best you can and draw. Now you can straighten this up when you're done, but you just need to make sure that we get the shape. So just be patient. Alright, so now I know where I need to cut. Now using your craft knife is probably best for this, and I'm just going to turn this around for me so I can get at it. I will line this up, and I will start using my craft knife to lightly score into the chipboard. And you're going to need your cutting mat. I'm going to get mine in just a moment. I may try my scissors after I get these lines down though. And I'll do the same over here, line that up straight. And over here, I'm going to turn it this way since I'm a right-handed person. Alright, so let's take a look here. That looks pretty good now. This and that. That looks good. It should be fitting. Alright. I do want to slip something back in here. And we really don't need a whole lot. So you should have this in your reserves. It's just enough that we need so we have something on the back there. Measure over 2 9/16 inch and cut. Just place it there for now. We might have to cut that down depending on how we get this assembled. So let's get this assembled. Let's turn this over to the back. This flap here, we're just going to go over to the side. Whoops. On the bottom part. You don't want anything on this one. And when you do it, you're going to bring it even with the side of this one, and you're going to bring it even with the side of that. That's half the battle there. It's just make sure you're not pushed in too far. So when you're looking at it, you should be like this. Okay, so we got that. Let's grab this piece here, and we still need to put something up here, but first let's get this on. Okay, this piece here, this whole back piece is going to glue to the back. Do not place any glue there. We're looking at it this way. This is turned down and just up in here. Let's get out away from that score line there. Here's the front. Here's the front. You can line it up with your magnet at this point. That's going to be helpful, believe me. And then you can bring this over to the back. Make sure that this is going to want to bow in on you. So when you do that, just make sure that you pull this out so that it's even with the sides, not poking out. That is the easiest way to do this, because I can tell you that was the biggest problem when I was creating this. So once you have that where it's supposed to be, carefully move this up, open it. You can wipe that off for now or just leave it because it's going to get covered. But you want to press right in here. This, see if that'll slide in. Me, it's a little bit of a tight fit. So I'm just going to take a 1/16 of an inch off the side until I can slide it in. So I'm going to do that really quick. About a 1/16. And now see if that'll slide in. And it does, and I can push that back. Okay, so I know that the only thing that needs is the sides here. And it doesn't matter if you go in the middle, because eventually we are going to be placing this down anyway. I just want to make sure I get this in. And I'm going to slide this in until I'm clear of that score line. So just to the top. And I'll press that down in there. So, like I said, I'm doing my best with trying to teach you how I did it, but by eliminating the errors. So I did, it was a trial and error when I was creating mine. So we still have that, and that's okay. Nothing's going to fall out the back of this once we have it down. We can flip this up, and now we can glue this. So key areas is to make sure you get on that crease. It's very important so it lays flat for you. Okay. Let's place it. So I think this is the most difficult of all albums that I've actually made, and not so difficult, but as far as having a lot of pieces like this. Now, if yours is a little uneven like mine is, I can place something over that to make it look even. And then we're just going to wrap this around the sides, burnish it down. Okay, let's get into our reserves. You should have a narrow, skinny little piece like this. I'm going to be using the wood side up. This is going to place here, and I'm just going to measure to fit this. And I'll glue that down to the top. Not too worried about the bottom because the bottom won't show. If you have some uneven right here, let's take care of that. And what can we use? We could actually use the little life stories thing here. I think that would look good. So I'm just going to measure to fit this as well. And I'm going to pull it up so it covers the imperfections. And I'm going to glue that down. Make sure I'm straight over here. All right, it's time to get this on our album. And for this, you definitely have to open your album up. So I recommend just splitting it, move everything aside, and this will fit exactly in between those creases there. So we're just going to bring it all the way to the bottom. We do have to place something up here, and we will. So we're not going to worry about that right now. And for this, I think we need the score tape. So let's lay score tape along the back, all the way around it, like a picture frame. I'll burnish this down in just a moment. Now, one thing is you don't want to put any score tape right here, obviously. So we're just going to go along that side. We'll go along this side of the chipboard. And we'll burnish, and then we're going to fill in between there with some glue. So I'm going to remove that as soon as I find my craft knife. So glue right in between the score tape there. I was using the 3/8. And this is where you're going to line it up in between, like I said, the two little creases. Bring it all the way to the bottom without going over. And place it evenly in between there. And you can press it down. All right, let's get our piece for right up there. So in your reserves, you will have this long piece, and it is the wood grain, which we are continuing on with our wood grain over here. So this is longer than, of course, this. This piece is about 7 1/8 by about 1 7/8. I'm going to turn it over so we have the same leftover pieces. Measure over 2 5/8 inch and cut. So check your piece to make sure it's going to fit side by side. I want you to bring it all the way down in between there, and we're going to measure to fit. So all the way up to the top. Now we will cut that, and then we can glue that down. I have mine, got the glue on, and I'm going to make sure it's even with the black. If you don't have any black, just make sure you don't go over, and you'll burnish that. Clean up any glue. So now this is what it should look like from the side. It looks pretty good. We'll add anything extra when we are getting our stuff there. But here it is. Now we're on to the back part. Let's set this off to the side. Okay, grab your chipboard back cover envelope. And you can see right here where all of our lines are. On the inside of that score line, we're going to cut all the way up till we hit the top one. We'll do the same over here. Now for this, I think, no, we're just going to cut this whole thing out instead of doing the other. Just cut that side little piece out. Okay, so here's the bottom. Here's this. Here's that. Okay, let's grab our back envelope flap, and this is cardstock, and we're going to fold on those score lines. Okay. Again, we're going to need to get our decorative paper first for this. In your reserves, you will find this print, and on the back, it looks like this. All right, let's just turn it this way. We're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. This piece right here with the typewriter, and you're going to want the other piece, is going to be placed on here, but not yet. We have this one that needs to be cut down for this. So we're going to measure over 5 inches and cut. I'll do that really quick. And you can put the other one in your reserves. Okay, so your hinge is going to be off to the left, and mine's upside down because of the way mine was written. This piece right here should fit right on top of that, giving you a black border. But the first thing that we want to do is create a little thing here. So what I want you to do is take your scissors and just cut at an angle. Like I showed you before, if you cut at an angle like this, you can just bring this all the way over to the other side, match it up with your corners, and you can use this as a guide to get the same cut on this side. Whoops. There we go. And I'll just put these in my reserves. So for this, if you were to have your hinge over here and you tuck it back behind and you make sure that you are even side to side, what you can now do, and we should probably glue this down first. I think that's going to be our best bet. So let's apply glue. Again, our hinge is tucked all the way back off to the side. We're going to make sure we have even black up here and here. And we will make sure that we will push that up just enough so we can just see a little black here. And then we're going to burnish that down. All right, so this is the easy part. You can pull that back out. All we're going to do now is cut at an angle, leaving a little bit of a black border there. All right, let's just flip that over and let's grab a magnet. And we're going to come in, oh, I'd say about a good inch, and place that. Just like that. Let's grab the mate, and we'll just stick it on there. Okay, here is our chipboard back cover, and you can just pull in your sides to the back. And we're going to do the same thing here. Just kind of pull them into the back, make sure you're lined up, like so. Bring this over the top, and when you do that, just make sure your sides are even as best you can there. So I think I got it where I need to be. Here's the bottom. Okay, so that is how that's going to place, and we're going to do the same thing with that. So it's best to always check to see what you're doing first before you do it. Okay, the bottom I'm just going to fold back behind. Get this ready to go, and I'm going to put my hand down so it does not attach yet. So I have it on top. Make sure I'm lined up with the sides, and then I'll press it. Now we have where that magnet needs to go. Now here's the bottom again, here are the sides. This is going to place like this, but what I wanted to do was make a curve on this side. So I'm going to use my score tape, and I'm going to use the inside of that, get my pencil. Now when I'm doing this, what I'm trying to do is just eyeball to make sure I have the same amount over here and here as best I can. And then I'm going to draw on the inside. If it's a little off, you won't be able to see it until you open that flap. So, and then I'm going to cut this out. And I think I'll erase any pencil marks I might see. Okay, again, here is the bottom, and here's this. So I'm going to bring this all the way. I'm going to fold this back, line this up on the sides there so it's even. And then what I can do is bring this just a little bit until I can see a little, that's going to show a little black. That looks good. And then I'm just going to go from here to here, and I do have a bigger lip up here, and that's fine. I'm just going to follow it here. So we'll have a little black. Now we can cut that out, and I am going to actually use my heavy-duty scissors for this. And then I can clean up any of this down here. All right. So I can bring this up now a little bit to where any rough spots does not show. Make sure I'm where I'm supposed to be, and I'm going to glue that down. All right. So now that we have it like that, we can actually get this to glue up. So we're looking at the back now, and I know that it's only going to be on, the glue's only going to be on this part here, not that one because that's the bottom. And I'm going to do it in, line it up. All right. So there it is, and that's how it's going to sit. It's time to get this on. So again, find your magnet where it's supposed to go, and that's what's going to help you. So I'm going to turn it back over once that's on there, and I'm going to get these flaps up here. Wrap that around the top, making sure my sides are even. We're just going to hold it there until our glue grabs. All right, let's give that a moment to dry while we find our paper for here, 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 and here. Grab this out of your reserves, and we are going to turn it like this. Measure over a 1/2 inch and cut. Measure over again, 1/2 inch and cut. So we'll just turn these over. What we're going to do is we may have to cut another 1/2 inch strip, but let's just measure to fit here. This should be 6 inches along the long side, so I'm going to make pencil mark here where I need to cut. And on the other side, I'm going to do the same. Line it up. Make my pencil mark. And I'm going to cut. Let's apply glue and get those on. Alright, let's get the other one on. And we do need to cut another 1/2 inch strip because those aren't going to work, but we do want to put these in our reserves. So grab this back out of your reserves, measure over 1/2 inch, and cut. This piece here that we just cut should be almost about 10 inches, I'm thinking. It is. So all we need to do is measure over 5 inches and cut that right in half. All we have to do now is apply glue to these. One goes here and one goes here. So let's do that. Our glue should be dry on the chipboard by now, so let's just lift that up. We're going to leave this black. At the end of the tutorial, if you would like to add a piece here, that's fine. But we do need, I do think I want to slide something back in there. And this will work good. In your reserves, you will have this piece. It's only 4.5 inches by about 1 7/8. So I'm just going to place that so it shows like this. It doesn't matter that it doesn't reach all the way across. So we're going to add glue to this. We'll slide it in there so it's even side to side. I'm going to turn mine so I can see what I'm doing. That looks good to me. And burnish it down. And that way there's a little color there. Okay, I did have something planned for this. In your paper pack you will find this with all the little cut-aparts. On the back it looks like this. We're going to take off the trim piece and then we're going to put this on our paper cutter and cut out this one right here. I think I want a fussy cut around this, and I'm not even sure I want to use it, but that's okay. So I'm going to fussy cut around the doily, the flowers, all around there. And I'll show you what mine looks like. I want to see what this will look like if we put that on there. Here is mine, and I think that that's going to look good on there, but what I ended up doing too is placing this on top of some black cardstock and cutting around my image to give a little bit of a black border, and it will stick out a lot nicer. So that is one thing. You might want to pause the video and get that done, and we're going to glue these two pieces together. It will be easier if you just glue this down to like a square of black cardstock and then cut around it rather than trying to hold it and cut around it like I did. I just wanted to see how it would look first before I had you do it. So just a little bit of black outline there. And then I'm going to place it right here. adding black cardstock behind your little cut aparts and any of your fussy cutting sometimes will help the image pop a little better and separate your colors so you can actually see, and it will give a little dimension there. And that's why I like to do it. Okay, we are set. Let's grab our book. Here's our spine on this side. We are looking at the back, and we are going to glue this down. But we are going to use some score tape, and then we can fill in the rest with the glue. So key areas, looking at the back, is getting around those edges. It would probably be a lot easier to use a little hook tool. I was at my friend's Mary Ellen's, and she uses the hook tool. And I think a long time ago I used to use the hook tool, and then I kind of went back to the craft knife. But I think I might get my little hook tool out. I think it'd be a little bit easier. And just add a little here and there. Okay, so we are looking at the back. The opening to this is going to be like this. And I think just right here will look good. So try to get that on even. I think I got mine on there good. We'll open that up and we'll burnish it as best we can there. And there is the back. Now, once we get papers in here, it'll be nice. It'll hold it up better for us looking at the front. But most importantly, now when you open your book, it's not poking up so far that it's not like flat. So. All right, let's do some decorating on here. And what I would like us to get out, and we might as well do it all now and have our pieces ready. You will find this cut apart sheet, and it's on the back side. Let's take several moments and fussy cut out all of these images. So for me, it's probably going to take a good 20 minutes to get these out, maybe 15, depending on how careful I am. But just take your time. But we're going to cut out all of these pieces. That was so much fussy cutting. I think I have irritated myself. I've cut myself over here somehow. But I'm going to be taking a break before I move on. Take some Tylenol or something. I've got some cramping going on here. Okay, so before I leave here, and you won't even know that I've left because the camera will just click back on. But what you're going to want to do is don't put these in your reserves. If you can, set them off to the side. And what I did was, like for the hinges, I going to keep these together in a pile. The little circles with the numbers in them, that'll go. My cameras, little odds and ends I can put together. All those little screws, we'll definitely be using those. And that actually took me 30 minutes of going quickly. So I think that's what did it for me. But my hand is useless right now. You'll also want to cut out, you know, your little strips off our paper pad, the trim. Cut out a couple of these. I just detached it, made it look nice, and we'll be using that too. All the little light fixtures, the bulbs and stuff all have in its own pile. Typewriters go in its own. There's a feather that's miscellaneous. I'll just stick that with my little bingo card. You have a couple of these hanging ones. They'll go together. You've got your clock pieces, and you've got the two large flowers arrangements there. That's going to go in its own pile. And then I have some of these singles. Now, the one that we're going to be shaping some of these flowers and using them. One thing is when you were cutting out, you noticed it looked like they were attached at one side. So I just cut in slightly so that each one has its own and I can bend it. And I'll be showing you, of course, how to do that. So those will all go in its own pile. Woo! Okay, I'll be back as soon as my hands it comes uncramped. The first two pieces we're going to work with is this one and the larger 50. So what we're going to do is glue our 50 down to some scratch cardstock, which I have here. And we're going to cut out and around this, leaving a little bit of a black border. Now, if you don't want to leave a black border, you don't have to. And you're going to do the same with this and gluing it down. What you're going to end up doing once you glue it down is you will cut out and around, and you can leave just a little bit of a black border. And that's the idea of this one as well. So just going to do the best I can. Again, on the 50, if you don't want to leave a black border, you don't have to. This one on the back is just to stiffen it up a little bit for what we're going to use it for. Same for the little post, little mailbox there. But I did want to get some black around the mailbox because it separates the colors a little bit for us. This one is for the back of the album. So I think I did the best I can here. Let's go to the back of the album. And what we're going to do is glue this right here. So it's stiffer for when we do grab that. So I'm just going to put some glue here. And place that. Let that dry. Alright, I'm going to open my album up. I'm just going to split it right down the middle here. And if you need to pause the video to get this piece done, do so. I'm going to get this glued down, and I'll show you where that goes. This is going to be our little pull tab for on the spine. And I think that'll look pretty good. Right here is this, and we're going to put that right there. So I'm just going to kind of see what I need to do here. Lift that up, make sure I don't have any glue squirting back behind. Alright, that's done. And I'm just going to leave this out like this. Now grab your bingo. Now for your bingo, where I'd like to have that is right here. But because we have a little box, it may stop. My box on the corner, I can still slide it back behind. My glue did not set in the corners. But what you'll want to do is if you can place that down there, if you need to cut out that bottom left-hand square, do so. But we're also going to glue this down to some black cardstock, and I'm going to look to see what I have. This will work. Before you glue it down though, let's get the other piece that we need. You will find in your little cut-aparts two different ones. The one that we want is the one with the larger rope. All we're going to do with that is cut around the top of that jar, releasing the rope. And we want that piece, we'll just set that right there. Alright, now for this part, we're just going to come up, and we won't be having this long of a tail, of course, but we'll just cut out a little bit like that. I think you can see that. Let's get some glue, and we're just going to use these, and we will stick it to where you can just see. We'll center that. Come on, Shelly, center that. so you can just see a little bit of the opening. We're going to chop this down. Now we'll apply our glue and we'll cut out around that. And I'll show you mine. And just a little bit of a black border. This is going to help this stick out like a little sign. And I can always chop down the top part again if I need to, which I might. So just a narrow little black border there. Okay, so once you have your piece and it has just a narrow black border around it, place it down. If you need to, like I said, trim out that corner so it will fit, that's great, but the idea is just to place it right like this. And it should come up to the bottom of your ledge here underneath. And remember, you don't want it to overlap onto your door because your door still needs to open up. So once you have that, we can now glue this down. There's that. Okay, this one, the one that we just set aside, we're going to need something else for that. Locate this the large one. And if you notice on the large one, there was some of these. If you fussy cut this off, locate your piece because we're going to use that. So now I'm just going to cut out and around, get some of this stuff. All right, the idea of this is to be glued down on top. And then what we'll do is we will mount this to some black cardstock. Like that. Grab some black cardstock. And I'm going to glue it down, and I am going to cut out and around this, leaving a little bit of a black border. And make sure that's down. Okay, cut out and around this, and I'll show you mine. Here is mine, and you see this little piece down here? We're just going to fold it just like that. This is going to glue halfway on that door, just like this. So I'll just get half of this on. So just kind of put it down like so. You can open up your door to make sure you can still slide, and make sure you clean up any glue back behind. We don't want that. So now we have that attached. I was thinking about using this piece, the very large one, to possibly be stuffed right back in there and over so that it kind of fits and you can pull down your little leaves over the awning. I was thinking about doing that, and I think that that might be really pretty. So with this whole big piece that you have, we're going to apply glue, and make sure that you get the edges, and we will do that. All right, here it goes. So this part, we're looking at it where the flower's up here, and this is going to tuck back in here, and that's going to tuck over there. So white flower up, this over here, and you can just tuck that right in. I'm going to use my tool to help me here. And tuck that back, smooth it out, get that tucked in there so it's kind of flat, and then this comes over the awning. Just make sure you get down in that crease so it's sitting where it needs to. Wipe up any excess. I'm going to stand this up so you can kind of see. I got some glue up through here. I'm going to make sure that gets off. Okay, so there it is. Make sure I don't scrunch that. So that's down. That's looking good. Okay, you should have another little jar like this. Again, we're going to apply some glue. We're going to glue it down, and we're going to cut out around it. these little pieces, life story, you're going to do the same. Glue that down, cut out and around, leave your black frame on these. And then we'll resume and place these. Okay, I got my pieces here. Here's life and here's stories and this. So this, we're just going to glue right down onto that post. So make sure you get the top and the sides. You won't need to get anything on there, but just slide it right up underneath the eave there, the awning. Place that. We're going to grab life stories. Place some glue. It's going to go right here. And you can center it on that post. Make sure I'm straight. I look pretty straight there. And then this one. Right underneath. So right now what you should have is that. And I think that looks really good. Okay, I'm going to set this off to the side. We're going to need a few pieces, one of which is the smaller clock. You have one that's large and one small. You want the smaller one. And we're going to be doing the same thing with this one. We're going to apply glue to the back and we're going to glue that down and cut out and around that. You should find a couple small screws that look like this, 2 of them. I'm going to grab my album back out. I put it away just a little too soon. I'm going to open that up. And also you're going to want your bunches of little flowers that you cut out. So with these are real simple. We're not backing these. We're just going to stick one over here on the side. We'll take the other one and we'll place them, place one right here and we'll place one right there. And I'm going to lift my album, make sure I'm somewhat even on those. That looks pretty good. Okay, let's get to doing this really quick. I cut out and around mine. Now mine is pretty choppy looking around the edges, but I'm not going to worry about that. So with this, what we're going to do is we have some of these 3D dots. And we're going to get some of these out here. So we're going to flip that over and we're going to place some of these. I'll get one at the top, the sides. Now I want to use 4. I tend to do a little overboard, but I want to make sure all my avenues are covered. I'm making this, it's a keepsake. I don't want any problems with this collapsing or snagging up, so I am going to use 4 for this. Getting it right there by the edge. Okay, make sure the 12 is up, and I'm going to raise this up and then I'll show you. We're just going to place that right in the middle, right on top, and maneuver that as even as we can. And these little guys, they're not forgiving. Once they're down, they're down. They're permanent. They're not going to come back up. Okay, so for our flowers, if you have a shaping kit with a stylus, you can shape these a little bit for yourself. I got a stylus right here, and I'm going to get my mat. If you do not have a shaping kit, what you're going to do is you're just going to use your hand, hold it in the middle to support it, and just kind of give a little bend on those edges. Kind of bend it up if you can. You can stick your finger. If your little leaf, if your little petal comes off, you can glue it back on. But just so that it kind of bends in, so that it gives it a little bit of a shape. So you can do something like that. Those of you that have this, grab a mat and just circle around in there. Again, if your thing falls apart, you can, because it's very narrow in the middle there, then you can just glue that back. Okay, that's all that needs to be done with that. And I'm going to do this with, I think I'm going to do it with all of these little flowers. We'll use them. Since I did not call out for any other flowers, I thought these matched in pretty good. Use what we got in our paper pack. Save us a little money. Now, if this is just too much, all this fussy cutting, and you're watching this before deciding to make this album, take this tutorial, remember, you don't have to fussy cut all this because I did. You can always go your own route and stick packaged flowers on here and decorate it any way you want without all these little pieces. So that's totally up to you. It was a lot of work. I got cramps in my wrist. I have issues with my wrist now. And yeah, so pretty soon you all are going to have to start gluing me back together. I'm going to stick this out of the way. Okay. I think there was a couple other things I wanted to use, but let's just get these flowers on for right now. So we're going to grab a larger teal and a larger brown, and we're just going to place them right like this. Okay? So one thing about this, and I'm just going to go right on there because it's going to hopefully get down there. And I'm going to stand this up just a little bit so I can kind of see what I'm doing there. And then the blue one's just going to overlap on top of the other one. Let's see now. Let's grab two, a large brown and a large teal. I kind of like that and that. Okay, so the first one I'm going to do is the brown one here, and make sure I get glue in the center, maybe around it a little bit in case it kind of catches. And right here, we're just going to stick that. That noise that you hear is my puppy. He has really merged into my family really well, and the dogs and the other babies, my other babies. And we'll stick that one right there. Now, one thing about this, and I did not call out for it, is glossy accents. So this is what I got so far here. Glossy accents, what it is, and you can put this on if you would like to stiffen up or glossen up your flowers. It's a medium, but it also will stiffen up your flowers. It also will add a little gloss to it. It's not necessary, and I was trying to do this with the least amount of cost for everybody. Okay, flowers. Let's get back to our flowers and grab a small blue one, and that one's going to go right here, and it's still protected when we open it from that awning right there. So let's grab a little beige one, and we'll stick that right there next to it. Kind of cluster them together. I think we're going to come up into the corner here. So let's grab our last two. I have two, unless I'm missing one. And we're going to go up in this corner with it, right up in there. And we have a little blue one that's going to go right next to it. So far, this looks really good. Grab your large feather like this, and you'll also find a flower that you cut out. It has a shorter stem. Let's grab this. The only one that we're going to back I think is the feather to black cardstock. We'll cut out around. That's fairly simple to cut out around, I'd say. Okay, I have mine backed, and like I said, it's just a little bit of black showing. We're going to stick these little 3D dots on there. I'm going to probably do 2 of them. Now, if your dots want to stick over the side, what you can do is kind of pinch it in a little, like so. I'm stuck. Okay, right up under here, stick the top of that right underneath your eave, and we're just going to have it come out the side a little. This little flower, we're just going to glue right on top. And I think that that looks really good without overdoing it. If I decide I want to come back to this and add something else, I will. But I think that that's really nice. You can open it up, adds a little character there. All right, we are done. We're going to start moving in now. We're going to start working on page 1. And how we read this is like a book. Page 1, page 2, 3, 4, and so on. And I think I may have already mentioned that in the beginning of the tutorial. But that way, you know, if you leave the video, take a break or something, come back, you can always check your book to see what page you were on. And hopefully the video will resume at that point. All right, we're now on to page 1. We're on page 1. Let's go over our precuts. So the first thing that we cut was a 7 3/8 by 7 5/8, and we called it a fold out. What we did was laid this on our scoring board, so we were 7 5/8 inch across. It doesn't matter if your scoring starts over here with a 1 or over here. You can always flip your piece around to accommodate. So we scored at a 1/2 inch and 5/8 inch. Our next pieces we cut 2 pieces that were 4 3/8 by 4 3/4, and we called these picture mats. Okay. We cut 1 piece that was 3 inches by 9 1/4 inch. And what we did was we laid this on our scoring board, so we were 9 1/4 inch across. We scored at a 1/2 inch and 8 3/4 inch. We turned it, so we were 3 inches across now, and we scored it at a 1/2 inch. And we just labeled that a pocket. We cut 1 piece that was 3 1/4 inches by 3 9/16. We called this a pick mat template. We also, there was notes. If you are not using the Heartfelt Creations booklet die, you were to cut a 4 by 6 inch piece of black cardstock and just label that a window template. Clear plastic. We cut 1 that was 6 7/8 inch by 7 1/4 inch. And we cut another one that was 4 3/8 by 4 3/4 inch. All right, we're going to set all of these pre-cuts off to the side. Let's get our base sheet that we will be working with. And it's this one. So in your paper pack, find this one. On the back, it looks like this. Now, one thing I'd like to do, instead of stopping for each page and telling you to take off the trim, all your pages or all your sheets that are left over that you have that are in your paper packs, let's go ahead and take all of these trim pieces off. And we'll just put our trim pieces off to the side, and then whatever we don't use for the rest of the tutorial, this little image down here, then we'll just toss them or save them for another project. So let's first do that with all our pieces. Alright, so this is the piece that we want, and we are going to look at it so it is like this. You have your hinges here, and you have this here. Measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. stick the other piece in your reserves, and we'll just turn it. The hinges are now down. Measure over 10¼ inches and cut. Grab your template. Now what we want to first do, because this was, the width is 8½, we're going to stick this on our paper cutter. We're going to trim off 1/8 inch from this side, 1/8 inch from this side. And then that way it will be the same width as our inner page. So let's do that. And I'm going to grab this so you can kind of see what I'm doing here. And I'm just going to stick this on my paper cutter and trim off 1/8. And I'll chop off this side 1/8, and I will chop off from this side 1/8. Okay. We are ready. All we're going to do with this is what we've done before, and we'll line it up with the top. Make sure our sides are lined up. I think that's good. Okay, so we're just going to do what we did with the cover, is using this as our template. And then we will cut it out. I should have printed this out on like 65-pound cardstock. It wouldn't be curling like the copy paper here. And then after we are done using this template, we just save it for our last page in our book. Okay, let's cut out and around. And I think you can kind of see my pencil marks there. Put your scrap pieces in your reserves, and you can tuck this away until the end of the tutorial for our last page. First thing that we want to do is we're going to grab our album, and we're going to make sure that this is going to fit. Now, if you notice, right here is your crease, your hinge, so you definitely want to make sure you are away from your hinge, and we will pull it up. And I am pretty straight here. Make sure I'm straight over here. And this is where we can do an adjustment to any of our cuts that is needed. So like for mine, as you can see, I have a little more black over here than I do over here. And I'm straight. So that tells me I need to take a little more off here so I have the same black. So I'm going to do that, and if you're fine with what you have, then definitely hang tight, but I'm going to even mine up. I evened mine up, and I'll tell you the best way to do this is to tackle it with a ruler. For instance, I needed to trim down this side, so what I did was I measured the top to here, what that was, and then I made sure that this side was the same. And once I made that adjustment, I came down to the second little step and I measured that. That was about 1 1/16. So I came over here and I did the same thing. And now I am fitting and I am straight. Straight on the sides, straight on the bottom, and straight right here. So once you know that that is good, we can put this off to the side and we can begin working on our piece here. So here's our base page. Set that off to the side. The first thing that I would like to get at is our fold out. And with this fold out, all we're going to first do is fold on those score lines. And make sure that they are straight. And we're going to attach it. So our hinge is going to be off to the left. You have an inside score line and an outside. On that outside one, I want you to pinch and crease it. Then what we're going to do is hook this on just like that. So you have that back behind. And make sure that you are even here with the amount of space right here. You'll pinch and hold it so it does not slip. And keep your hand down. pull that back and we will apply our glue. Put that on over and burnish. Okay, the next thing we want to do is on that score line there, we're going to fold on it now. And then we're going to push until we can feel that's like a flat. And it's our spacing. So now that we have that on, we can go ahead and open this up. Let's grab our 3 by 9 1/4. And you'll see you'll have little squares. Your score lines create that little square in the corner. We're going to clip up on that score line and clip over on that one. Don't jump ahead. If you're a die cutter, do not jump ahead and adhere this yet, because we have a little more work to do. Let's first find our paper for this. In your reserves, you will find this long piece. It's 12 inches wide. It's actually the cutoff from our base sheet there. Measure over 8 1/4 inches and cut. So this is what you should have. And, oops, the camera's shaking there. We're going to turn it so that the camera is over on this side. Measure over 2 3/8 inch and cut. All right, don't fold in your sides, but what I would like you to do, because the die cutters, we have something to do before we finish up on this. What we're going to do is we're going to apply glue to this, and we are going to center it in there between those score lines and the bottom score line, so you'll end up having a little black lip up there. So everybody can glue this down right now, and then die cutters, I'll show you what we will be doing. Okay, I have mine glued down and burnished down. Die cutters, I am in the Spellbinders Graceful Damask, and you're going to want these 2 brackets, and you may want to look to see if it's something you like what I'm doing first before you do it. What I'm going to do is come down in this pocket. This is our main pocket, but we're going to create a secondary pocket. So I'm going to make sure that this bracket here is even side to side. I'm going to place this one over it. And what this is going to do is cut out and around, but it won't cut this bottom. So just try to get it as straight as you can and run this through your die cutter. And I'll show you what mine looks like. I just pulled mine out of the die cutting machine. Grab my little tool here, but as you can see, this part lifts and the side lifts. And then, of course, you can poke out your little pieces here, and it will give you a secondary front little pocket. Okay, so once you have that, now what we all can do is turn this over and fold on those score lines. And over here. And over here. All right, we're going to push in the sides and we're going to bring up that over. So, just enough glue over here in the corners, all you need. And press up. So once this is laid down, then it'll look really nice up here on my piece. Okay, let's grab our 3/8 inch score tape. And we're just going to lay it down, and I'm going to get right there. Right along that edge. Okay, so how this is going to place is we're going to remove the score tape backing and make sure that you do not go over this side of your base paper. And we're just going to bring it down, and we are approximately, the bottom of this is about let me grab this side. I can see just a little bit better. We're about 4 3/8 inch up from the bottom. So if you want to take your pencil and just make a mark there so you can see it, you can do that, and that will be helpful. Make sure I got 4 3/8, just up above that little. So let's do this. I got my little handy dandy hook here. My friend swears that it works much better, so I'm going to be using this, trying it back out, see if it's something I want to use versus my craft knife. Okay, let's place this. And again, don't go over your paper over here. Just line it up with your side. And straight on over. And we will burnish. So now, let me grab just a piece of thing. So now you can see you can have something back here in the pocket. And let me grab something colorful. You can get something right in the front. Those of you that don't have the die, you're still going to look good with this pretty print there. And we can also add, at the end of the tutorial, you can add embellishments to your pocket. But I think that your pocket just being flush, that is going to look good. All right, let's finish up in here first, and then we will do over here. What we are going to need for our next piece, you're going to need your clear piece that is 4 3/8 by 4 3/4. So I'm going to set that off to the side. You're going to want your cutting mat and your craft knife, or you can possibly use your, if you have one that can come down and stuff, that can be used for what we're going to do. Otherwise, craft knife. Okay, this is our template. What we're going to do with one of these is we're going to grab the 3 1/4 and by 3 9/16, and we are going to center this. If you would like to do pencil marks, measure in 9/16 of an inch, put a mark here, measure 9/16 all the way around and make little pencil marks, that might be helpful. We're just going to lay that right on top there, kind of centering it, trying to stay even. If you get it a little off, that's okay. You can always fix it once you look. So I'm just going to draw. Alright, so now we just cut on those lines. And again, you can use, you can definitely use your paper cutter if you have a blade that can come down and cut. And I think that's what I'm going to do. And that is going to help me. Okay, this thing right here, I can go ahead and put this in my reserves for right now. Here is our frame, and here is our 4 3/8 by 4 3/4. As you can see, this will fit right on top of that. But the first thing we want to do is place our plastic back behind this. So let's grab our 3/8. And I'm going to line the back of this. I don't like using glue on the clears because sometimes, unless I have to, if it's just so narrow, but it smears a little bit. So I try to use score tape whenever I can on the clear acetate. Now remember, here's the thing about this. When you're putting the clear acetate on top of this, if you get it a little bit off, remember you can always trim it because you're not going to see. We're just covering up this middle hole here so that the picture will be hidden back behind it. So make sure I have it going the right way. Try to line up that corner there, corner there, and place it. Just like that. All right. So that is how it's going to be. We need to get some decorative paper for this. Grab this back out of your reserves. It's the one with the wood on the background, on the back there. We're going to turn it upside down. The doors are over here. If I can get this camera to stop bouncing around. Measure over 4¼ inches and cut. So now that we have that cut down to the correct width, we're going to measure over 4½ inches and cut. This is what you should have. It's only going to fit this one way. So mine fits just like this, and I'm going to try to center that top and side to side like that. I'm going to glue these down together. That in there. Now, even though this is designed to have a picture, the reason why I wanted to make sure I had something down instead of leaving it black is just in case your picture is smaller than the opening, you'll at least have a nice like frame going on. So in case your picture isn't quite as big, you'll have this frame and you'll have that frame. Oops, there goes the dogs. Alright, so we are ready to cut some pieces around this frame. You will have this piece in your reserves. What I'd like you to do, I'm sorry about that, guys. Somebody came up to the door and they're still doing their thing. What you're going to want to do is measure over 1/2 inch and cut. Measure over 1/2 inch and cut, and you'll do it 2 more times until you have 4 pieces that are 1/2 inch long. And I'll show you really quick on mine. And since I'm using my good cutter here, I'm going to have to just maneuver this. So that's 1/2 inch. There's 2. Actually, I'm cutting on the wrong side. I told you to cut on this side. So I've taken 2 1/2 inch strips off that side. I'm going to flip this around. And so we'll differ just a little bit there. 1/2 inch and 1/2 inch. That way I have a little color there, a little more color. So this is what I ended up with. That'll go in reserves. Let's grab our frame. And the frame is actually going to be like up this way. So we're taller this way. Let's grab our piece here. This one here has some color on it. I'm going to glue that down like this, and I'm going to bring it over just a little bit so that my black still shows. I'm going to be even top and bottom there. Glue that down. Take this one, I'm going to glue it down as well. Have a little bit of a black border there. Then for these, what I'm going to do is I'll place this and I will trim it to fit and glue it down and do it here as well, leaving that black little border all the way around. So I'm going to do that if you'd like to watch. Also with my cutting, I'm a little whiter on this side than that side, so I'm not too concerned. So I'm going to leave a little bit of a black border there. Get this one going. And if I have to trim down the side to make it look right, I'll do that. And then this one, so that I'm even as well. So as you can see, my black on the edges are pretty much the same now. So So that's all there is to that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to leave it open, and we're going to leave it open so they can get a picture in this way. And again, I'm going up and down this way, and I am going to use glue on this now, and I'm going to put a fine line here and a fine line at the bottom. Minimal glue, and I'm going to match up the corners. And I'll burnish that so you can still get in to this and slide a picture back in there. And that's what you should have yours looking like too. Let me grab something so you can see. And as soon as you get your picture in there, then what you can do is glue down the rest of the way. But you can still slide in and get in there, and on the sides too. Tuck it in. All right. So what I want to do is glue this down at an angle, but I'm going to not glue under here because I want to be able to use this as a tuck area back behind. So glue is going to go underneath that side and under there. I like creating these little tuck areas. When you place this, do not go over the edge of your decorative paper. Your fold out will not work. So I'm going to stick the tip of the bottom of this frame right here. It's probably about a ½ inch from the bottom. And I'll still be able to see some of my paper up here. And that'll be good enough. And that way I'm clear of the hinge over there. And it will still work. All right, let's grab a couple magnets now. And we are going to place over here. But when we do it, when this falls, it needs to be able to fall to hit over here. So we're going to be halfway under that midpoint when we place this. So I'm going to come in about 1 inch, and I'm below the half point down. And you can check on yours too, just by closing it and seeing where that magnet's going to fall. Close that. Now, one thing about this is when you do that, don't pull it all the way over, because then you're not going to give yourself enough room in between. You're going to stretch it. So I just let mine fall naturally, and I'll flip it over, let it find its mate, and I'll just stick a little glue under there. And then when I put my score tape on the back, I can remove that. So that's all set. Let's get our paper for the inside, and then we still have our front to do.